Liz Bramhall's life's been dominated by a secret illness. As a child, she was healthy and happy, but from the age of 14, she's been hiding an eating disorder. Liz is bulimic. She has 2 young children, but she's not able to live with them, and they stay with their grandmother. Liz spends much of her life on buses visiting her children and taking them to and from school.
Well, the way I look at it, the eating and my weight and the way I felt about myself, I just got so sick of it. I just couldn't cope anymore with it. I mean, my day was full of food, vomiting, binging. I couldn't concentrate on anything. I didn't feel anything. It was just food, food, food. And I was just so sick of it, I couldn't switch off from it. The only comfort, the only relief I had from it was to turn to a drink.
It's really been like losing a sister, because, you know, once we have this lively, active, happy sister, and then the next minute, you know, you can't, over a series of years, you can't even talk to her.
The reason I have so much travelling is because the children are temporarily staying with my mum due to when I started to drink heavily. It was under the advice of the social services, so until they can be sure that I'm back in control with the drink, the children stay with my mum.
I didn't ever think that anorexia or bulimia nervosa could ever become so severe. Never.
I've been told it is the drinking that has forced the children to have to stay at my mum's. They do understand the bulimia is not going to disappear overnight, but that wouldn't stop them coming home. I've got to get rid of the bulimia because it's absolutely ruining my life. It's controlling me, and that's what led to the drinking.
People are at risk from these conditions. For example, in terms of anorexia nervosa, the latest follow-up studies, which have looked at people 20 years after their initial treatment, have found that 20% are actually dead at that time. 1 in 5 have died during the intervening 20-year period.
Well, the last heard of the children's father, he was in Blackpool. We're not together. I'm glad now. We didn't have a very good relationship. It was a quite violent relationship, emotionally as well as physically. And I just got sick of it. And I began to see him for what he really was, and he's not made contact now, and that's the way I like it. Hey, I haven't had a love this morning. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you. And you, Lauren. I've had a love off you as well. Ta. Mwah. Now, come on. We've got the anorexia started when I was about 14, going on 15. I look at it as an anorexic phase because I didn't stay anorexic for very long. But that's where the eating disorder started, and it's been with me ever since.
Oh, what's that?
This continued like this up until I was 21. Then I became bulimic. And from then, it has just been sheer hell. Right, what are you going to have any sandwiches? For about 6 months to a year, I was eating and vomiting, and the weight just dropped off me. I looked great, I felt great, I was confident. I think my body was just like living off its resources. Right, we've got pate, cheese or ham. What do you want? Ham. After about a year, it all started to crumble around me. I couldn't keep up the pretence anymore. It started to affect my health. I got into about £1,700 debt because I just kept going to the bank and drawing money out for food willy-nilly. And the overdraft just escalated.
Liz has been bulimic ever since, even throughout the birth of her 2 children.
My motivation for getting better naturally is because I want the children home. I've been told it's got to be a long period without a drink whatsoever, and I'm sticking to that 100% so I can get the children home. It is a secretive illness, you don't want anybody to see it, but more prominent is my children because I don't want them to be affected by it at all. I do worry about the children picking up, wrong messages or seeing the way I eat. Lee is coming up for 5. He's getting to the age now where it could have an effect on him. With Lauren, it's very easy to keep her occupied with something, or she could be having a nap or she's in bed by 7. But Lee doesn't miss a trick now. So I've got to be very, very careful. I don't like the kids not being here. They come in the daytime sometimes and the house is alive then. I say ta-ra to them, I leave them, and it doesn't feel natural. Plus the fact I've healed a lot inside as well, and I do feel like the mum now. And as soon as I walk in this house, I look at the toys around, the empty beds, and I'm sat here and I think, well, right, what is it tonight? Soap operas, tape, that's it. No children to check up on. And it don't feel fair as well. I'm not saying it's not, but it doesn't feel fair.
It's when Liz is alone in the evening that she's most likely to binge. She keeps a check on her eating by writing a special diary about food and her feelings.
Friday the 21st of July, 95. 8 o'clock, 2 Weetabixes with 6 ounces of milk. That was at my mum's. Feel fine again. Fat, but not going to give in to urge to diet. 9:30, packet of crisps in town. Not sure if I fancy this snack. 12 noon, quiche, peas and mash, 2 slices of toast, 2 slices of cake, 2 cups of tea. Lost control now. Must try very hard to keep in control for meal tonight. Binge and vomit, that means that was a binge and I threw it up. Chips and peas, a large portion, 2 cups of tea at my house. This was a binge and I threw it up. Gave in to urge to binge, control is lost now. 9 o'clock, stew and pastry, family size, large bottle of pop at my house. This was a binge and I vomited. Well, that's a typical day for a bad day. They're not all like that, but there's about 2 or 3 a week. On a normal week.
Liz is the youngest of 4 sisters. As an extrovert child, she was the centre of family attention. As an adult going from crisis to crisis, she still is. Liz turned to her sisters 2 years ago when she faced her worst crisis yet.
It was apparent that she was drinking quite heavily and her life really fell apart.
There's been instances where she's put her life and the lives of her children in danger. There's an occasion where she was found hitching a lift to, we think, Blackpool, with the children in a pram in the middle of the night. About, was it 3 o'clock in the morning?
2 or 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
She was picked up.
There's been a number of occasions Liz has tried to take her own life by taking lots of tablets combined with drinking.
I don't think it's been a serious attempt because soon after she's either called a doctor or called me at home to ask, what do I do? Is this dangerous? What will this do to me?
Am I going to die? She always wants to know.
So she's always very frightened after she's taken them, but at the time of taking them, I think she just doesn't know
care.
what to do.
No.
Really, what else to do?
She's in a panic. She's frantic and inside herself, as if there's an explosion going to happen, and she just doesn't know what to do.
It sounds really hard and maybe a little bit callous to people that perhaps don't understand or haven't experienced anorexia, but things got so bad that I think, I know I certainly just wished it was all over and people could perhaps get on with their lives. At least if one of these overdoses were to work, then we could get on with our lives in a way. You feel very useless because there's nothing you can do and the treatment's ineffective. You just wonder where to turn to next, and then you see the destroying effect it's having on Liz, but then not only Liz, her children, her mum, and everybody else in the family really is affected in some way.
I phoned Liverpool Eating Disorders Unit because I wanted to ask a question. Could an eating disorder that had turned to alcohol be treated just with alcohol alone? And they said no, it should be treated together, not separately. And Liz was finally taken on as a patient and is attending the counselling sessions weekly at Liverpool.
Maureen had found the key to Liz's problem. It was here at Liverpool University, in a special unit known as HOPE, Help to Overcome Problem Eating. After 17 unsuccessful years seeing GPs and psychiatrists, the unit offered one last chance.
The very first time I went to the HOPE unit, I sat outside for 2 minutes and I looked up and there's a wall with all engineers' names on it. And it looked like a tombstone. I thought, well, if they can't help me here, I've had it. And I just looked and it was like my tombstone, and I could see it. Here lies Liz Bramhall, died aged 32.
Department of Clinical Psychology. Yes, that's right, you're through to the HOPE unit. Can I help you?
Hiya. Hi Liz. I've come for my group meeting.
Effective treatment of the eating disorders anorexia nervosa or bulimia nervosa and also compulsive eating involve at least two main threads. First of all, there is a behavioural problem. People who have opted for dieting and severe weight loss do need to actually learn to change that eating pattern, learn to eat normally, and allow their weight to rise to what is something close to their ideal natural body weight. On the other hand, that is not the whole answer. We also need, very importantly, to address the underlying emotional issues, which are very varied and vary from individual to individual.
For Liz, her treatment at the HOPE unit has taken her on an emotional journey back in time to find the cause of her problems. Today's journey is a special one. Liz is taking the children to Rhyl, the scene of her happiest childhood memories, the time before her eating problems began. Coming to terms with the past has allowed Liz to move forward and to understand her illness.
There's a lot of things that have contributed to the eating disorder, but the death of my dad was the major one. And that was inside me. Basically with my counsellor, you know, we've gone back in time, and virtually from the time of 15, I've just been frozen inside. There's been no feelings. Like she asked me how old did I feel on my first session, and I said 15, and I did. And that's why I wasn't coping with the children and wasn't coping with life. I feel I can talk about my dad now. I've come to terms with his death. So I can allow myself to feel low sometimes. I can remember I loved him. I can feel I still miss him. And it's nice to remember now. It's nice to feel the memories. And I thought it'd be nice to come back to where I was totally 100% happy before I had any problems. I felt it was good to bring the children today because it's a place that I remember all my happiest memories as a child. And today is the first day I'm going to have my children home for 16 months. So this is going to be one of my happiest days as well. And it's like today's the first day of the rest of my life, really. And that's how I feel. Lauren, come on, we've got to do you now.
This overnight stay is only the first step to reuniting the family. Social services will want to see many more successful nights and weekends before the children will be allowed back to their own beds for good.
Come on, hold your towel around you and let's go down. You really are now. Come on. In you go. There we are. Give me a kiss. Give me a kiss.
If Liz continues to make progress, she could have them home and taken off the Child Protection Register in 6 months.
Love you. Good night.
An essential part of the road to recovery for Liz is her attendance at the Hope unit. Every week she has a counselling session where she discusses her behaviour in detail with her counsellor, Eileen Howard.
They start to increase it, and it can become weekends.
Eileen gives practical as well as psychological advice.
So how did you feel when you got back home and you put the children to bed and the crew had gone home? Because you said you'd felt the crew were very supportive.
That's when I let it out then.
Yeah. Right, you let your sadness out.
Yeah. I mean, I was exhausted, but I didn't go to bed for about 3 hours.
It was such a mixture of emotions that day. You said you had the sadness looking back on the holidays you'd had with your dad, and you felt tremendous joy with your children.
Yeah.
So it really was a day of mixed emotions, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But you let yourself feel your emotions.
To a certain point, till I felt like they were going to explode.
Right.
I'd kept myself together all day. And another reason for that was because we were doing the film. I couldn't go off the rails. I just couldn't. I mean, what would I do in the middle of the reel and say, I'm going on a binge? I just couldn't go down.
But when I began to work with Liz, she had very low self-esteem. And really, deep down inside, she still felt like a little girl.
I had a little taste of it.
She had got in touch with her grief over her father's death and other losses in her life. Eventually, she began to build up her self-worth, which made great changes in the way she related to people at home and people, social workers and people that she was involved with towards the care of her children. She became more assertive, and as she developed her self-confidence, this made her want to actually have control of her own life and become more autonomous. And Liz really just proceeded to take each day as it came.
"10 months of counselling is paying off. Liz's battle with drink appears to be well in the past. There's real progress with cutting down the binging, but every meal is a potential disaster and puts Liz on edge.
I think I put a bit too much on.
What makes you think that?
Well, I just feel safe to take a bit off.
How much did you take off the plate just now?
Probably 2 pieces of tomato and a piece of cucumber. Probably just one mouthful, but it makes me feel better. Some people say they feel better if they leave a bit on the plate, but I can't do that.
As well as her written diary, Liz decided to keep her thoughts and moods on video. We left in August and planned to return to film in the new year.
I could have had a drink tonight, I've not. I don't want to drink, I don't need a drink. They don't understand, nobody understands. They're time I was abusing drink was because I was getting no help. And I thought I was demented. I thought, well, why not drink? You know, I'm going to die. I've lost my stacks, my brain. But it's not like that anymore. I don't need drink. At this point, I thought, it's time to remove me and my kids from this situation. And even though social workers don't believe me, I'm 200% sure that I will be able to cope. So I packed the bags and I brought them home, and they're upstairs in bed now. Oh God, I've just binged all day. My children are upstairs. But it doesn't feel like last weekend. It was, I don't know. They're not here because they should be here. They're here because I'm cheating. I feel as though I'm kidnapping them. But I mean, through all of this, nothing has pushed me to have a drink, and that's all they're concerned about. That is what infuriates me so much. The one thing that they are bothered about is that I will have a drink. They'll kill me before I have a drink.
Liz still had to persuade social services that she was ready to be a full-time mum. A meeting of her support workers and her family was convened by her social worker at the family centre.
To be fair to say, at the meeting in August, it was quite an emotionally charged meeting. Liz was on a high. She was strongly saying she wanted the children back. We went in there with a plan of some more overnight stays before the children came back. And to be fair to say, there was some difference of opinion.
I reassured them that anything that came up in Liz's life, I felt that she wouldn't need to turn to drink or binging as a way of dealing, as a way of coping.
And I think I said, I don't think you're listening to everybody around the room. I think I asked him if he wanted it all to look right on paper, rather than listening and thinking of the people involved. And I think we went round again and everybody said yes, and eventually he agreed.
Would you like to see some of your old baby clothes, she said?
Yeah. Now 6 months later, Liz seems to be coping really well. She's in control. You can see, just looking at her, really, she looks a lot better. She's coping with everyday life, with the children, taking them back to school. If we think sort of 12 months ago,
I know.
You know, it's unbelievable, really, the progress she's made. It's really good now.
Looking back on it, what's made me angry is the length of time Liz has had to suffer, and the family as well, waiting and trying to fight for Liz to get the right and effective treatment. And now she's got it, you can just see for yourself how it's worked in such a short time, really.
Since we last filmed, I've put on about £6. Very slowly I've put this on, but it feels more like 6 stone. If you could class anything as normal, I suppose I look normal now. Some people say very slim, petite, but I feel big. I feel uncomfortable and I don't like the way I look. So I'm just covering myself up. But I'm hoping that in time that's going to change. I think an illness is the best word for it because it is an illness. I can understand people with the thinking, oh, well, she just wants to be centre of attention. Yeah, I won't deny I like to be centre of attention, but that's when I'm happy with friends. And, for instance, if I used to go out with my friends, I was always the one that was the joker. I like people to be laughing. I like to make people laugh. But when it came to the illness, nothing was done consciously. I'd say more of a cry for help than wanting to be centre of attention, but I can see how people could think that that's what it was, because you are making yourself centre of attention. But it is a cry for help.